the subject for today is why don't we leave? And it's a very difficult situation when you are trapped in an abusive relationship, and there are a number of factors that kind of fall into play here. So if I talk you through why didn't I leave, I didn't leave because we owned property together, which was a bind, a financial bind. I didn't leave because financially I wouldn't be able to manage on my own. That was what I thought. I didn't leave because we had a child together and I didn't want the child to be without their father. I didn't leave because he kept telling me how sorry he was and it would never happen again, and he loved me and he would just be, the life wouldn't be worth living without me, so he might just as well kill himself now, blah blah blah. I had the emotional blackmail, and the constant up and down. It's called trauma bonding, where the highs and lows of the relationship are so extreme, it becomes almost like an addiction. And you're addicted to the highs, because when life is good, it's fantastic. You're addicted to the highs, but the lows are just horrific. But then you're just waiting for the next high to get you through it. So it is an addiction. It's called a trauma bond, and it is coming off of a trauma bond or trying to heal from a trauma bond is very much like trying to recover from an addiction of hard substances, something pretty strong like cocaine, heroin, that kind of thing. And I'm not dismissing anything that addicts go through, but what I'm saying is that a trauma bond, recovering from a trauma bond is really, really hard. What else is there? I didn't leave because I didn't want to fail. I didn't leave because I didn't want people to say I knew it wouldn't last. I knew he wasn't any good for you. Never liked him anyway. I didn't want to admit that I'd made a mistake. I didn't want to be ashamed. I didn't want the shame that came along with being a single parent. I didn't want the guilt of depriving the father of his son. There were so many reasons why I didn't leave. And yet it got to the point where it was impossible to stay in a relationship. And the toll that it takes is actually quite significant health-wise, because while you're still trapped in that situation, you have all these stress hormones constantly circulating throughout your body, being carried around in the bloodstream. The cortisol is in there, and it's weakening everything else about you. It's causing damage, and it's causing damage not only mentally but physically as well. So there are so many. I think it's very trite when people say, "Oh, why didn't you just leave?" Well, if it was that easy, we would have just left. But people don't know what happens behind closed doors. There were times that I left and I had to come back because of the threats that I was being subjected to. That life would be even worse if I didn't come back. And the punishment, if you like, for even daring to try and leave was quite nasty. So you get to the point where you just think, this is my life, this is it, this is how it's going to be, and you give up. You give up hope of being happy. You give up hope of ever being in a meaningful relationship, because you don't see any way out of this one, because no matter what you do, and these are the words that were said to me, is no matter where you go, I will hunt you down, I will find you, and I will kill you, because if I can't have you, nobody else can. So that, if you can imagine being on the receiving end of that kind of threat on a regular basis, so we're not just talking a one-off comment, we're talking about hearing that comment time and time again, would you take the risk? Would you take the risk of leaving? As if you've got children, would you take the risk of leaving with the threat that they're going to hunt you down and kill you? What's going to happen to your children? It's a scary situation, guys. It's really, really hard. And I would never, ever suggest that somebody just, just walk away. If you want to leave, it takes careful planning. Sometimes there are big events. For me, there was a big event, and that was it. That was when the split happened. But for other people, there isn't a big event, and therefore they have to plan, and they have to plan safely, because the flashpoint in the relationship, when it is literally at that moment when they realise that you're leaving, that they've lost control, and that's when it gets dangerous. So for people that say, oh, why don't you just leave? Have they been in that situation? Have they actually lived through the same life that you've lived through? And are they qualified to say that? Are they a relationship counsellor? Are they a domestic violence counsellor? Are they qualified to tell you what to do? Or are they just basically trotting out the same old word, oh, I would just leave, why don't you just leave? And they are, they work on the supermarket checkout at Walmart or Tesco's. And what qualifications does that person have to tell you how to do this? What certification do they have? What experience do they have to tell you to just leave? They have none. They have no clue, no understanding whatsoever of what this experience is like. And until you've actually lived through this kind of experience, you have no idea of how deep it gets. You have no idea how deep, how far down the hole that you can fall. And I know that for me, when that light bulb switched off, that light bulb switched off for me when I was pinned up against the wall by my throat, being threatened that I was going to be killed. And I just, at that point, said, just do it. I can't live like this anymore. I'm done. And isn't it sad when it takes that much to get you to the point where you can't take any more? And I think instead of blaming people that are leaving abusive relationships, maybe people could learn to show a little bit of compassion, a little bit of empathy, a little bit of, if you know somebody that's going through this and it's not something that you have experienced, you can say to them, I am so sorry that you're going through this. I have no idea how bad this is for you, because I've never lived this, but tell me what I can do to help you. And sometimes it's just being an ear, just being somebody they can talk to without judgment, because it doesn't matter what that person does, they're wrong, because they've been hearing that for years. So their self-confidence and their self-esteem are buried deep. They're nowhere to be seen. And if they are showing a front of being confident, there's probably some pretty heavy stuff buried underneath that frontage, because nobody escapes from an abusive marriage unscathed. It's just so difficult. And the statistics of how many women are abused in relationships are awful. 1 in 4 women in their lifetime will be in an abusive relationship, will be abused. So if you've got 4 of you sat in a room, whether it be at work or at college or out with your friends, one of them is likely to be being abused, because there's no safety, there's no safe place, there's no safety net, there's no boundaries. This can happen whether you live in a mansion or a council house. This can happen to you whether your partner is really affluent and well established and has a fantastic job, or whether your partner doesn't work. There are no social boundaries to this kind of abuse. And It doesn't matter what front somebody's putting on at work. At home, they could be living a very, very different life, and literally going to work is their escape. That is how they get through the days. So I know for me, that was very much a case of that was my escape. But of course, that was wrong, because that meant that work was more important than my partner. And I could not win. Whatever I did was wrong. And it didn't matter whether it was right the day before and it's wrong today. But if you are finding that you are in an abusive relationship and you want to leave, you have to make plans so that it can be done safely. And I am more than happy to talk you through that, to go through with you what you can do, to signpost you to your nearest service that can help you more locally, because in every town there is normally there you go, that's my blah blah for today. In every town there is normally a domestic abuse service. So if you type into Google domestic abuse and your town name, then the likelihood is that there will be a service close to you that you can call for help. They can help with emergency accommodation. They can help with legal advice. They can help with counselling. They can help with so many things. And so many of them are so good at what they do that it's amazing. They really do an amazing, fantastic job. And I can't say enough to say how much I appreciate what they do. And they give you the support that you need at that difficult time. But if you want to talk to me, I am more than happy to talk to you. My name is Jenny Rock, and I am from Jenny Rock Coaching, and I am a certified mastery coach. So I was trained by a guy called Jeremy Bellotti, who is the lead transformation coach at learn.com. Now, if you want to check on my website, have a look on my website. It's www.jennyrockcoaching.com. And if you want to find me on Facebook, just type in Jenny Rock, it's Jenny with an I, or Jenny Rock Coaching, and you will find me. Or you can just click on my profile on here and just shoot me a message. That is absolutely fine. So you can send me a message any which way, whether it's through the website, through Facebook, through Messenger, however you want to do it. My goal is to help as many women as possible leaving abusive relationships, and my passion is helping them to rebuild their confidence and their self-esteem so that they can get their lives back, so that they can build new lives that actually are the kind of life that they want to have, and they're not hung up on the old one. So I'm all about moving forwards and getting things done so that women can leave an abusive relationship and restart their lives as quickly as possible, and not stay stuck in this vacuum where they're still being tortured by their ex, because that's their ex's way of punishing them, where they're not being held hostage by the ex with threats about the children and custody and everything else. So if that is you, please get in contact. I have some services that may well be of interest and of use to you, but it's not about that. It's about getting these women out of their abusive relationships and able to restart their lives.